I was just a little palace maid who, driven by gluttony, shamelessly buttered up the chief eunuch to get myself transferred to the imperial kitchens. Every day I'd secretly whip up delicacies for myself, Osmanthus chestnut cakes, jasmine apple milk tea, crispy fried chicken rolls, spicy lamb hot pot. I pampered myself so well I gained several extra chin folds. As luck would have it, a guard spotted me, and to placate him, I had no choice but to share half of the food with him. Then he started bringing others to freeload, like Xian Guifei's personal eunuch Sibao, Princess Chang'e's beloved maid Ayla, and the emperor's most favored eunuch Dinding, Sibao, chewing frantically. Your Highness was right, such delicious food truly exists in this world. Dian Dian, leave some for me, leave some for this emperor, imperial uncle. Can't we just have Ting Huan transferred to my palace's small kitchen? Everyone, no way, hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. Ever since being transferred to the imperial kitchen, my life has become much easier, though there's still plenty of work to do every day. The thought of using leftover ingredients from the imperial kitchen to whip up some earthly delicacies for myself fills me with boundless energy. Late at night, as I warmed a pot of spring day drunk wine and was about to enjoy my meal, I suddenly heard faint meow meow sounds. Following the sound, I spotted a tabby cat, unafraid of humans. It simply crouched there staring at me with longing eyes. I gently stroked its little head. You little thing, your nose is quite sharp. Did you smell the steamed fish I made today? The tabby responded with a meow. I got up and picked out some meat from the plate for it. The two of us, human and cat, sat under the eaves. I sipped on spring wine while giving it some milk as well. It rubbed its furry little head against me. Looking utterly delighted, the raccoon dog was deeply grateful to me. When it appeared again the following night, it spat out a pearl it had been carrying in its mouth and placed it before me. At the sight of this pearl, I was utterly horrified. Ah, a tribute pearl from the east. Raccoon dog, oh raccoon dog, are you trying to get me killed? If anyone finds out I've taken the noble's eastern pearls, I'm done for. I stroked its head and said, Linu, quickly take this pearl back. If you want to come to my place for meals, you're welcome anytime. Giving me these things would only bring me trouble. As if understanding my words, after enjoying steamed vegetable and meat rolls that evening, Linu left contentedly with the pearl, and so, Linu freeloaded meals at my place for a whole month. Fortunately, it didn't eat much and was never picky, eating whatever was given. We became good friends, until one evening, I prepared steamed lamb, honey-glazed tofu, paired with freshly brewed pear blossom wine. The cat, while being petted by me, was licking the honey-glazed tofu from its plate. Suddenly, a man's voice startled both me and the cat at the same time. Actually, the matter of misappropriating some leftover ingredients from the imperial kitchen could be considered either serious or trivial. What I fear most is someone reporting it that would be disastrous for me. Zhaoge, who is Zhaoge? The usually bold and confident cat was now so frightened it kept trying to hide in my arms. I tentatively called out, Zhaoge. The cat let out a small meow before hiding again. A suspicion began to form in my heart. Could this visitor be Zhaoge's owner? I always thought it was a stray in the palace. Never imagined it had an owner. The man approached me, and only then did I see clearly. He was dressed entirely in black, resembling a guard's attire, tall and straight, handsome in appearance, with an aura of solemn lethality. Such looks likely marked him as an imperial bodyguard. This is it, I've been caught. If he reports me to the emperor, I might not even leave with my body intact. Holding the little tabby, I was in agony. You've really done me in, little tabby. The tabby let out a meow before being lifted by the scruff of its neck by a large, bony hand. No wonder you've been eating less yet gaining weight. You've been sneaking food outside. The tabby hung its head low. Though a cat's emotions aren't easily discernible, I could clearly see its dejection and sorrow. After disciplining the cat, it was probably my turn next. Being quite perceptive, I immediately dropped to my knees. Honorable guard, I merely used leftover ingredients from the kitchen to prepare some dishes. I beg you not to report me. The man raised an eyebrow. Honorable guard, how amusing. I shivered as I pulled out a few pieces of broken silver and held them out to the man. Please accept this humble offering, elder brother. He truly did laugh. You think this pittance is enough to buy me off? I smiled bitterly. Honorable guard, I'm just a lowly vegetable-cutting maid in the imperial kitchen. My monthly wages were already meager, and with my sweet tooth occasionally asking the procurement eunuchs to bring me pastries from outside the palace, he interrupted me, his gaze shifting to the cat he was holding. This picky creature wouldn't gain weight no matter how I fed it for 3 years. Yet you, a mere maid, made it plump in just over a month. I must taste what's so special about your cooking. Perfect. As long as I can tie him to my pirate ship, I won't have to worry about him reporting me. It's just that, big brother, I said timidly, could you leave some for me? The honey-glazed tofu was nearly gone, the steamed lamb was almost finished, and most infuriating of all, my pear blossom wine was almost completely drained by him, yet he showed not the slightest sign of drunkenness. What's the matter? He raised an eyebrow, feeling sorry for me. I forced a smile and spoke flatteringly. Not at all, it's just that the night is deep and the dew is heavy. I was worried you might get indigestion. Big brother, he chuckled, you little palace maid, so glib-tongued, but your cooking skills are quite good. He casually tossed me a gold ingot. Is this reward silver meant for me? My heart nearly leapt out of my throat. It had been so long since I'd seen such a hefty gold ingot. How I've missed this. Instantly, my eyes lit up. From now on, you're my sworn elder brother. He froze for a moment, then lowered his head and chuckled softly as if remembering something. Don't treat me like your own elder brother. This money is for you to buy ingredients. I'll come back tomorrow to eat with you. Go find little Detsy at the Qianqing Palace and mention my name Zhennan. Ajin to get some good stuff. This single gold ingot could feed an ordinary family for a whole year. I'd never fought a battle with such abundant resources before. I quietly slipped into the Qianqing Palace, and to my astonishment, little Detsy turned out to be the chief eunuch serving by His Majesty's side. I trembled so badly I nearly knelt before him. Eunuch Detsy, this humble one pays respects to you. He gave me a kind smile. So you're the little kitchen maid from the imperial kitchen that Asian mentioned? I replied, yes, this servant is Tinghuan. I'll have little Doozy go back with you. Just speak directly to the head of your imperial kitchen, make a list of whatever you want to buy and have him purchase it for you. My hands trembled as I took out the silver ingot. Miss Huan, this is merely my duty, no need for this. Just go ahead and make your request. Keep the ingot for yourself. Heaven sent fortune. This was absolutely thrilling. It seems this Asian might be a favored guard close to His Majesty, or perhaps, seeing the beaming smile on Dcai the eunuch's face, I couldn't help but feel a chill run down my spine. Could it be that this Asian is Dcai's secret romantic partner, though not common? The practice of palace eunuchs forming relationships with guards wasn't unheard of. My heart pounded wildly. Whichever of these two scenarios it was, I'd essentially hitched my wagon to a star. With this in mind, I excitedly planned the ingredients to buy. I'd need to prepare extra so I could sample these delicacies too. Just thinking about it made me happy. That evening, I prepared an elaborate spread: 8 treasure duck, 4 joy meatballs, 4 tender lamb, crispy pan-fried delicacy, braised pork ribs, vinegar-glazed crab, shrimp-stuffed meatballs, 5 treasure fresh vegetables, chili oil cloud threads, accompanied by date paste pastries and honey milk cakes, all served with ruoxia spring tea and dark plum soup. I even steamed a small fish especially for the cat. Despite my lavish preparations, Asian looked completely unfazed, truly worthy of being Dcai Gonggong's beloved, having seen the grander things in life. Big bro, you're here. Come sit. Asian shot me a glare. Don't call me bro, I scratched my head. Then should I call you sister-in-law? He spat out all his dark plum tea onto Limu, making the cat yowl meow. In protest, I hurriedly wiped Limu down. The evening carried a slight chill, and I didn't want the poor thing catching cold. Over there, Asian was already devouring food like a whirlwind, as if he hadn't eaten in 8 lifetimes. I grew a bit impatient. At his current pace, my favorite stuffed shrimp balls would be gone before I even got to the table. We started eating in a hurry, Jean and I, almost like we were competing. I don't know how the two of us managed to eat so much, until only one piece of honey milk cake remained. I still wanted to eat it, but I could see Jean eyeing it too. For the sake of smoother thigh-hugging in the future, I reluctantly pushed the honey milk cake toward him. Brother Jean, you should be the one to do it. Jean let out a sudden chuckle. He pushed the honey milk cake back. You do it instead. Your drool's dripping on the pastry. I'm disgusted. I quickly wiped my mouth. There wasn't any drool. The cat seemed to understand, letting out a light meow. Making over a dozen dishes in one day was utterly exhausting. The next day, I couldn't stop yawning and even accidentally cut my finger while chopping vegetables. Blood gushed out, and I barely managed to stop the bleeding by tightly wrapping layer after layer of gauze around it. So for dinner, we had to make do with just 4 dishes: sea cucumber in golden broth, braised pork knuckle, stir-fried assorted pork belly, and tofu soup. For drinks, we settled for the readily available mistaken water from the kitchen, and the dessert was pre-made lotus flower pastries. When Asian saw this table of dishes so different from the previous day's spread, his first concern was actually for my injured hand. How did this happen? I lowered my eyes and replied meekly, I accidentally cut myself while chopping vegetables. I'll have someone transfer you to an easier position. I was so thrilled I nearly cried out, but I thought it would be more proper to decline politely. One must always maintain some semblance of restraint. Please don't, Brother Jean. It's better not to make exceptions for me, lest others gossip and cause trouble for you. Jean replied promptly, That's true, damn, this cursed reserve. Though he said those words, he still spoke to me when leaving. From now on, prepare fewer dishes, just increase the portions slightly as you normally would. The cat let out a meow, seemingly quite satisfied with the lamb milk porridge I had prepared for it today. After a month of eating like this, I noticed Asian had gained some weight and kindly reminded him, Brother Asian, you should eat less. You often walk before the emperor. It wouldn't do for his majesty to notice. If he were discovered, I'd be in trouble too. Gazing at his slightly plump cheeks, my heart couldn't help but skip a beat. Indeed, even with extra weight, a beauty only becomes more beautiful, like a sword having its dust blown away and then polished. I muttered quietly, no wonder Dachai the eunuch likes him. I'd like him too if I were in his place. What are you talking about? Strange. Why does Asian's face seem slightly flushed? Probably had too much mistaken wine. Nothing. I waved my hand and said, but he still wouldn't give up. Leaning closer to me, the scent from him, mingled with a faint aroma of alcohol, wafted right into my face. In my dazed state, my mind was utterly overwhelmed by this intoxicating fragrance. He murmured drunkenly with a smile, Did I just hear something about liking me? I had this strange feeling. Though he appeared nonchalant, his gaze seemed to be fixed on me the whole time. It made me feel uneasy under his intense gaze. My eyes darted around before I buried my face in the raccoon's furry chest. I like chowga. I heard Asian sigh softly, as if he hadn't heard the answer he wanted. Never mind, I'll head back first. Tomorrow I'll bring some friends over, prepare some extra good dishes. Could the friends of Asian be ordinary folks? As long as they're all willing to cover for me, would I still worry about being caught sneaking food in the future? I could eat whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. What bliss! Sure enough, the very next day, Asian introduced me to his friends, Xian Guifei's personal eunuch, Sibao, Princess Chang'e's beloved maid, Ayla, and the emperor's most favored eunuch, Dinding. Good heavens, these are truly celestial beings. As long as these great figures are willing to protect me, my humble life can remain firmly in my own hands. I'm so happy I could faint. But isn't the eunuch most favored by His Majesty Desiai Gonggong? I asked curiously. Asian paused for a moment before replying, There must always be a changing of the guard. His Majesty is still young, while Xiao Desi is already advanced in years. Damn, he actually dares to call Desiai little de. That eunuch must be really favored. The cat came over to rub against my calf, so I picked it up and held it in my arms. Oh, my dear Chowga. Today I've prepared shrimp meatballs for you. You'll definitely love them. The cat affectionately nuzzled my head. Dian Dian, am I seeing this right? That fire-tempered Chowga is actually being affectionate with someone other than the royal uncle. Sibao, brother, you're not mistaken. That's the same Chowga who nearly scratched my face when I tried to hug her. This little palace maid actually managed to win over Chowga. I'll ask her later what kind of magic she used to teach me. I've been wanting to give that little wildcat a good squeeze for ages. I prepared a spicy lamb hot pot with fresh lamb, winter bamboo shoots, preserved mustard greens, and other side dishes. along with an apple jasmine milk drink. At first, a few of them were still skeptical, until Jian Jian took the lead with her chopsticks. After one bite, her expression changed dramatically. How can it be so tender? I've never tasted lamb this tender before. Ayla also took a bite. It's really tender. And so fragrant. The flavors of the meat and the broth blend perfectly, neither overpowering the other. It's like they were made for each other. Sibao quickly followed with a bite of his own. This is delicious. Even the chefs in my prince's residence can't compare to this. Ayla, the drinks are delicious too. They pair so well with the spicy hot pot. I was initially smiling as I listened to their praises, but suddenly I felt something was off. Prince's residence? What prince's residence? Asian took over the conversation. Sibao came from the prince's residence, so naturally his tasted the culinary skills of the royal kitchen. I was just a bit slow to react. But isn't Sibao from noble consort Xian's palace? The three of them hemmed and hawed, all turning their eyes to Asian. Asian remained much calmer. Noble consort Xian was originally the commandery princess of the royal mansion. Suddenly it dawned on me as I watched the people across from me wiping their brows in unison. I placed the secret dipping sauce before them and said, "You all look overheated. Let me prepare some cherry shaved ice to cool everyone down." But just as I went to the kitchen to prepare it, for treasures, frenzied chewing edition. Uncle Emperor speaks true. Such divine delicacies truly exist in this world. Jian Jian, leave some for your emperor. Leave some for me. Ayla, Uncle Emperor. Can't we just have Tinghuan transferred to my palace's private kitchen? Everyone, Eno, Jian Jian, it should be my turn first. Allah, you always say you dote on me the most, but now it doesn't count. Sibao, I'm the youngest, can't you just let me go first? Seeing that Ajun remained silent, everyone's eyes turned toward him in unison, only to find him smiling as he gazed at me bustling about in the kitchen, when I came out carrying the shaved ice dessert. He immediately stood up to help me carry it. Jian Jian, looks like no one can take this little palace maid away. Sibao, to think it would be a little palace maid. Allah, you wouldn't understand. Men's hearts are as deep as the ocean. The four of them often came over for free meals, though Asian, to spare me the extra work, didn't let the other three visit too frequently. But he himself would come every day, always bringing the cat along. Over time, whispers of this inevitably reached others' ears, especially the newly arrived Yuxia from the imperial kitchen, who, relying on her aunt's minor managerial position in the wardrobe bureau, acted as if she were someone important, constantly ordering me around. I figured it was better to avoid trouble, so I endured all her nitpicking. The vegetables weren't sliced finely enough, the flower carvings lacked grandeur, even the placement of plates became reasons for her to find fault with me. I couldn't understand why she targeted me until one day when Asian came to deliver newly acquired knives to me. She rushed forward instead, her face flushing red. Tinghuan's too clumsy with her hands. She won't appreciate these knives properly and would just waste your thoughtful gift. Better give them to me, I'll put them to good use. Asian didn't speak, nor did he hand her the knife, just stared at her with a cold expression. Truth be told, when Asian wore that cold expression, it was quite frightening. But Yuexia seemed oblivious to the tension and continued speaking with a smile. You know Director Sun from the Imperial Wardrobe Bureau, right? She's my aunt. Get out of the way, you're blocking the path. Asian didn't spare her any courtesy, so she could only shoot me a vicious glare before turning to leave. Wait, he's the one who yelled at you. Why take it out on me? Blame the right person, not an innocent bystander, as fate would have it. Our secret snacking was discovered by Yuexia. I thought to placate her with silver to settle the matter. Dear sister, please let me off just this once. I'll never dare again. To my surprise, she shoved me aside and sneered coldly. You little slut. Not only seducing men but also stealing from the imperial kitchen, utterly shameless. I wonder if Brother Arjun would still want you if he knew you're a thief. I was speechless. Those ingredients were what Brother Arjun exchanged with his body. Even if it's stealing, your precious Brother Arjun stole them with me. Why single me out for blame? She grabbed my wrist, stiffening her neck as she declared, I'm going to report you to the kitchen steward right now. Let's see how bold you remain then. Sister Yuexia, I was truly wrong. The head chef. But he's the one who usually delivers my meals. If Yueshia knew that behind me stood only those favored servants of the nobility, I wonder if she'd still dare to be so arrogant. For some reason, a phrase suddenly surfaced in my mind, a dog that barks only when backed by its master's power. Bah, I'm no dog. Yueshia dragged me before Chief Steward Laifu. At the sight of me, Laifu's plump face broke into a wide smile. Miss Tinghuan, what brings you here? Hearing Laifu's fawning tone, Yueshia felt somewhat displeased. Chief Steward, that wretched girl Tinghuan has been embezzling ingredients from the kitchen to cook private meals for herself. Silence. Steward Laifu's expression darkened as he kept shooting meaningful glances at Yueshia, but she seemed oblivious and continued speaking. Even you are siding with this little bitch. If my aunt finds out, who knows what? Laifu finally couldn't hold back and slapped Yueshia. I told you to shut up. Oh, Laifu and Steward's son. Seems like I'm catching a whiff of some juicy gossip here. Then Laifu turned back to continue fawning over me. Absolutely nothing of the sort. Miss Huan mustn't take this little maid's words to heart. Indeed, according to our dynasty's laws, eunuchs and palace maids are forbidden from forming intimate relationships within the palace. There might be a few exceptions, but those would require special permission from noble patrons, clearly not the case for Laifu and Steward's son. I nodded. Certainly, Chief Steward. Laifu bowed obsequiously. Just call this humble one Laifu. I shook my head. We mustn't disrupt the hierarchy. You still oversee me, my lord. It's just, I don't wish this matter to recur. Not for my sake, a mere palace maid like me carries no weight. I fear it might affect those above us. Should they take offense, the consequences would be unthinkable. Laifu immediately nodded in agreement and promptly transferred me to an extremely leisurely post. So awesome, absolutely mind-blowing. I've decided to cook a few extra dishes tonight to properly butter up all the big shots who've got my back. Another round of his signature 10 dishes, dompa pork, braised pork knuckle, steamed perch, cherry pork, 5-spice squab, lotus leaf chicken, vegetarian lion's head, Buddha's delight, and baby bok choy in chicken broth. In addition, lotus seed porridge and spare rib with winter melon soup were prepared. As the dishes were somewhat greasy, refreshing sweetmeat soup and mint citrus herbal drink were also served. There are also pomegranate wine and yuchuanshan. For the final dessert, mung bean walnut pastries and steamed sugar custard were prepared. Everyone's faces were beaming with happy smiles as they ate, and I felt truly happy too. You just have to fight with them for food. And sometimes you can't even win. It's a bit of a headache, Ala said earnestly. Tinghuan, I've tasted many delicacies since childhood, yet every dish you make is extraordinarily delicious. It's as if you're not human. Sibao nudged Ale and said, what's with your tone? Ala shot him a glare. Can you let me finish? What I meant was, Tinghuan is like a master chef. At this, Ale broke into a radiant smile, clasping my hand and gently stroking the back of it. Tinghuan, would you be willing to come back to Changle Palace with me to serve? As soon as she finished speaking, Dian Dian immediately chimed in. If we're going to serve, it should be at Qianqing Palace. Why would we go to? Sibao had been frantically signaling them with his eyes, but the two only belatedly noticed and turned to look at Asian. Then they both obediently lowered their heads. I watched their little interaction with a silly grin, completely oblivious to any issues, perhaps a bit tipsy. I raised my cup towards them and declared, I know you both are good to me. Without you, I'd probably still be just a lowly palace maid at everyone's mercy. But you, the pillars of each palace, the trusted favorites of all the noble ladies, that you're willing to include me in your circle is already the greatest fortune of my 3 lifetimes. Everyone exchanged glances with varied expressions, before finally turning their eyes in unison toward Asian. Asian took a sip of pomegranate wine without changing his expression. I stood up and raised my glass. Today has been my happiest day since entering the palace. I've gained all of you as friends. First, Elle stepped forward, wrapping her arm around my shoulder and speaking sincerely. I'm also very happy to have a friend like you. Would you like better opportunities? I can recommend you. Perhaps it was the wine getting to me, but I found myself talking more than usual. But I still want to stay in the imperial kitchen as a little maid. Why? Sibao asked. I've been meaning to ask. With skills like yours, you could easily run a small palace kitchen or even become a head chef in the imperial kitchens. Why hide your talents and settle for being a lowly vegetable-cutting maid with no future? I let out a long sigh but managed to keep my composure, answering vaguely, I was forced into palace service. My family used to run a business, but we were framed. To ensure my survival, they sent me to the palace. I'll still leave when I turn 25. Ayla looked at me, the genuine concern in her eyes unmistakable. But what could you possibly do outside the palace? After all, we women are all destined to marry someday. As she spoke, she cast a meaningful glance at Asian. Unaware of her odd gesture, I gazed longingly beyond the high walls. I want to revive our family business, make it big and strong, expand it across the lands. From the Xiongnu in the north to the Jian kingdom in the south, from Persia in the east to the Jurchens in the west, a cold breeze swept by, dissipating most of my drunken haze, and I feared they might think I was spouting delusions, so I hunched my shoulders sheepishly and said, of course. I was just saying it casually, don't laugh at me. Jian was the first to speak. Having such lofty aspirations is admirable. There's nothing to laugh at. If my younger siblings could be like you, I'd be burning incense in gratitude. Perhaps it was my imagination, but after Jian finished speaking, both Sibao and Ale lowered their heads and fell silent. Ajun just looked at me like that, his beautiful eyes sparkling as if sprinkled with starlight. For no reason, I suddenly thought, how nice it would be if he and Cai the eunuch weren't in a same-sex relationship. I couldn't pinpoint exactly what would be better, only that everything would be perfect if they weren't. The day before yesterday, drunk, I slept until the sun was high in the sky, until I was jolted awake by a bucket of water. I coughed violently, choking. What's going on? A flood? Yueshia's voice rang in my ear. You wretched woman, you're done for. Still dazed, I was dragged out of bed by my hair. Then two elderly matrons pinned my arms, leaving me unable to move. At that moment, I spotted a pair of shoe brocade shoes. Looking up, I saw a stern face. Yueshia sidled up to her and flattered, Auntie. It was this wretch who seduced the steward. I saw it myself that day. His hand was on her waist. I understood now, the person standing before me was likely steward's son. Upon hearing Yueshia's words, steward's son didn't hesitate to slap me across the face. You shameless wench, how dare you seduce my man? The force of the blow snapped my head to the side, and the metallic tang of blood immediately flooded my mouth. I let out a cold laugh. Yueshia seized the chance to step forward and slapped me. You bitch, how dare you laugh at my aunt when you're about to die? Laugh at my aunt again. I dare you. Blood mixed with saliva as I spat it all over her face. She was about to hit me again, but I calmly spoke up instead. Manager son, whether the chief steward and I have an illicit affair, you can simply call him here to ask and find out. Yueshia was eager to crush me underfoot and naturally wouldn't be willing to summon the chief steward. She hastily retorted, if the chief steward comes, of course he'll protect you, you little hussy. Ignoring her, I continued, Manager son, I don't want you to be kept in the dark. If the chief steward and I truly had something going on, why wouldn't he try to hide it instead of openly defending me in front of your own niece? Seeing steward's son deep in thought, Yueshia took another step forward. Quickly shut this wanton huss's mouth. Don't let her foul words dirty my aunt's ears. Seeing the situation turning bad, I hurriedly shouted, Steward's son. No, I couldn't mention Asian's matter. They've been so good to me. If I brought up Asian and implicated him in Dechai the eunuch's affairs, it would bring them trouble. With a turn of my head, I continued, executing a lowly palace maid may be trivial to supervisor son, but the Imperial Guard's beloved cat, Chowga, now only eats the meals I prepare. This cannot be faked. If Chowga were to starve to death as a result, and word of this reached His Majesty, the reason Supervisor Sun punished me would surely come to light. Seeing Supervisor Sun hesitate, I quickly added, if the supervisor doubts my words, a simple inquiry within the palace will confirm them. Yueshia was still fanning the flames. Aunt, you mustn't let this little wretch off so easily. If you spare her this time, how will you maintain your authority in the rear palace? Silence. Supervisor Sun roared, what I do is none of your concern. Someone go and investigate. Is there really a palace guard's cat named Chowga in the imperial presence? After roughly the time it takes to burn one stick of incense, the investigators finally returned. Her expression was very strange. Steward, This servant has inquired, but there is no palace guard's cat named Chowga in the imperial palace. My heart immediately leapt to my throat. Chowga was indeed Asian's cat, how could it not be in the palace? Yueshia immediately stepped forward. I told you this little wretch was full of lies. Besides, this is the imperial palace, not some random household. How could a guard's cat be allowed to roam freely here? Guards, execute this lying wretch with the rod at once. Wait, said the palace maid who had just gone to investigate. There is indeed no imperial guard's cat named Chowga in the palace. But the southern prince's cat is called Chowga. What? The southern prince? This bewildered exclamation came from me. How could this be? How could Asian possibly be the southern prince? The next instant, Zhao Ji's urgent meow sounded, accompanied by a les voice. This princess was unaware that such people in the rear palace would recklessly take lives and abuse private punishments. This princess. The crowd fell to their knees in unison, dragging me down with my arms pinned. The person came up to me and helped me up, and only then did I see her face clearly. It was truly Ayla, Ting Huan. It is I who came late. If it weren't for Chowga coming to find me, my breath quickened, and I stood frozen in place. It was only when Chowga rubbed against my leg that I snapped out of my shock. I immediately knelt down. Your servant pays respects to Princess Changle, the princess, Ayla, the Prince of Junnan, everything connected in this moment. I was merely the nobility's plaything all along. Changle helped me up, speaking with slight remorse. I'm sorry, Tinghuan, I didn't mean to deceive you. It's just, your highness is always right in whatever you do. Your noble status certainly doesn't require explanations to someone as lowly as me. Yet, I had genuinely believed we were friends. Remembering that foolish night, my heart suddenly leapt into my throat. If they were just a few major slaves, I wouldn't have to worry. But one was the Prince of Junnan, another the Princess of Changle, and as for the remaining two, Dian Dian and Sai Bao, I dared not dwell on their identities. Damn it, could my identity be exposed? I slapped myself across the face. Li Tinghuan, you and your big mouth. My father was once the richest man. Some said the emperor's treasury held less wealth than the gold and silver in my family's coffers. Our family prospered through ancestral craftsmanship. With Li family taverns once flourishing everywhere, later, father expanded into banking, rice trading, and gambling houses. Wherever profit flowed, his presence followed, but he despised the former dynasty's oppressive taxes and secretly funded the rebellion that brought the current emperor to power. The late emperor bestowed upon my father the title of the empire's foremost imperial merchant, yet for reasons unknown, in the busiest marketplace of the capital. My entire family of 236 souls was slaughtered overnight. Had I not been out playing that day, my life too would have been forfeit. It was Minister Zhao, who once received my father's kindness, that hid me under an assumed name within the palace walls. When Minister Zhao first saved me, I was consumed by the need to understand what had truly happened, but he repeatedly forbade me from pursuing it. Your father's dying wish was to implore me to ensure you don't seek revenge, just live well, he said. I stared at Minister Zhao with eyes that burned with unshed tears of blood. When the cunning hare dies, the hunting dog is cooked. Minister Zhao glared with wide eyes. Never speak such words again, he is absolutely not that kind of man. I gasped for breath, tears streaming down my face. My family's wealth rivals the national treasury. Are you certain the one on the dragon throne won't be tempted? Without the slightest hesitation, Minister Zhao replied, I am certain, I stake my honor on it. After delivering me to the imperial palace, Minister Zhao even had people watch over me, fearing I might seek revenge. I used silver to secure a position in the imperial kitchens, having realized over the years that Minister Zhao's influence hadn't yet reached there. But I think Minister Zhao worried too much. What could a mere palace maid possibly do? Even getting close to him would have been impossible, let alone after his passing a few years later, leaving me with no means to exact vengeance. Changle brought me to Changle Palace, perhaps feeling awkward. She started making small talk. Listen, Huan, let me tell you, if it weren't for that little kitten, I wouldn't have rushed to save you so quickly. I was wondering why Chowga was being so affectionate with me today. Turns out it was calling me to rescue you. Luckily I'm quick-witted and figured out Chowga's intention just in time to save you from those villains. I smiled and looked at her sincerely as I spoke. Thank you, Your Highness. Chang'e suddenly became somewhat restrained. Tinghuan, you should still call me Ale. We didn't mean to tease you on purpose. It was just Uncle who, Chang'e, I heard Diandian's voice. But now he was dressed in a bright yellow dragon robe, striding into the palace surrounded by a crowd of people. I immediately knelt to the ground. Your humble servant greets your majesty. Chang'e helped me up. Tinghuan, there's no need for such formalities. After rounding this corner, I no longer found it particularly significant. One was the emperor, another a princess, and the third a prince, yet they had stooped to impersonating palace maids and eunuchs just to amuse me, if anything. They were the ones at a disadvantage. But as for Asian, the emperor led Chang'e away. Chang'e had been protesting. Imperial brother, let me stay with Tinghuan a little longer. In the next instant, she fell silent and looked toward the door. I saw Qin Zhanye, clad in a black robe embroidered with python patterns, walking straight toward me. I must have been out of my mind to dare throw a tantrum at him, the imperial uncle. I dropped to my knees and knocked my head heavily against the ground. Greetings, Your Highness, the Prince of Zhennan. He quickly helped me up. Tinghuan, I know you're angry with me. I deceived you, and you can hit or scold me as you wish, I said coldly. Your Highness, the Prince of Zhennan jests. This servant wouldn't dare. Truth be told, I didn't know where I found the courage to speak sarcastically to the Prince of Zhennan, nor could I understand where this inexplicable rage came from. I had absolutely no reason to be angry that he deceived me, yet I was furious all the same. I stood up to leave, but Qin Zhanye grabbed my wrist. Tinghuan, I've stayed in the palace all this time because of you, but I can't remain here much longer. Would you be willing to leave the palace with me for the Prince of Zhennan's residence? A flicker of delight actually crossed my heart, and I silently scolded myself for being so weak. Shaking off his hand, I spoke coldly. Your Highness, if you desire this servant, you need only speak to His Majesty directly. I am but a palace maid, unworthy of refusing any decision made by my masters. Qin Zhanye seemed to be coaxing me. I'm not sending you to the southern prince's mansion to be a servant. Don't pretend you don't understand. I just want to know your feelings. My feelings? Do my feelings even matter? He wrapped his arm around my shoulder and looked straight into my eyes. They do matter, Tinghuan. Your feelings are the most important thing. My heart suddenly trembled as time overlapped, and I seemed to see father carrying me on his shoulders. Huana, you must always remember, your father will forever be your support. Just keep in mind that your heart's intentions are what matter most. To prevent Qin Zhanye from seeing my reddened eyes, I broke free from his grasp and turned away. Your Highness, this servant will obey your every command. He finally grew impatient. Li Tinghuan, can you stop speaking to me like this? My head buzzed. Did I hear correctly? He called me Li Tinghuan. I took a deep breath. Since your Highness knows my true identity, then whether you wish to kill or slice me, Li Tinghuan submits to your will. Qin Zhanye seemed absolutely furious, pacing around in circles several times before pointing at me and stammering, You, for quite a while. Li Tinghuan, do you truly not have the slightest memory of me? I circled around Qin Zhanye a few times, scrutinizing him from head to toe, and finally shook my head. I even held you in my arms when you were little. I never expected him to take half a day just to come up with that one sentence. I let out a confused her. Qin Zhanye said to me, my elder brother relied on your father's support to achieve his imperial ambitions. You were still very young then, and I was only about 7 or 8 years old. When I held you in my arms, you just stared at me intently and even gnawed on my finger. Back then, my elder brother and my father jokingly suggested we should be betrothed. Strangely enough, whenever they mentioned marrying me, you'd break into a smile. When I grew older, I saw you a few more times, but due to the propriety between men and women, each meeting was always brief. His tone suddenly grew heavy. Later, when that incident happened to your family, I rushed to the scene immediately. I saw you crying and trying to run into the house. I held you, shielding your eyes and protecting you in my arms. I froze, overwhelmed by waves of grief. My body must have activated its defense mechanism, causing me to forget much of that day. I had always thought it was Minister Zhao who protected me that day. Qin Zhanye continued, actually, both my imperial brother and I know exactly who harmed Brother Li.
Didn't know how to react, just stared blankly at him, aware that my face had turned crimson. Why is that? I asked instinctively, perhaps because it was destined to be. Suddenly I remembered the inexplicable anger I felt when I learned of Qin Jinye's identity. I had always believed it was the late emperor who caused my family's demise. If he truly was the late emperor's brother, then an ocean of blood and vengeance would stand between us, making any possibility impossible. Perhaps my heart had unknowingly fallen for him long ago. Before I could speak, Qin Jinye continued speaking to me. By coincidence, that day I was bringing the final evidence to deliver the fatal blow to Prime Minister Zhu when reporting to His Majesty. It was also the day I met you. A profound sense of destiny enveloped me tightly, whether in childhood or now. It felt as though an invisible red thread had bound Qin Jinye and me together inextricably. He took my hand. Tinghuan, I adore you. Will you return to Zhennan Palace with me and become my princess? My eyes sparkled mischievously. Then you must answer a few questions for me. Ask, and I shall withhold nothing. You don't have a wife now, do you? Qin Jinye's gaze was resolute, not even a concubine. Now it was my turn to feel uneasy. Then you shouldn't have any issues. Qin Jinye immediately raised his hand to cover my mouth. You know perfectly well I've been fighting battles in the south while dealing with Chancellor Zhu. When would I have had time to consider marriage? At this point, he leaned in conspiratorially close to my ear. As for whether I'm capable or not, why don't you try me and find out? Qin Jinye, you scoundrel, he laughed while gripping my wrist. Lady Tinghuan, is there anything else you wish to say to me? Though I'm merely a palace maid now, if you ever think of taking multiple wives and concubines in the future, it absolutely won't be allowed. You may have only me. Qin Jinye immediately nodded. I can write a pledge. That won't be necessary. Just sign a separation agreement. If you have someone else, we'll simply part ways. He tapped my nose. You seem simple-minded, but actually see things crystal clear. Fine, if it gives you peace of mind. I'm willing to sign. I let out a long sigh. There's one final and most important point. One day I will be your wife. But more importantly, I am Li Tinghuan, heir to the Li family. You cannot confine me to the household or keep me by your side. Qin Jinye pulled me into his embrace, holding me tightly. In the future, your husband will be counting on you to restore the Li family's glory and reclaim its position as the wealthiest household. When that time comes, should I ever lack money or provisions, I'll simply ask my wife for help. You mustn't refuse to support me then. Looking at Qin Jinye acting coquettish and playful before me, I found it truly difficult to connect this man with the aloof prince of Zhennan. My dear wife, you simply must keep supporting me. A man's sarcastic voice came from outside the door, sounding somewhat like Sibao upon closer listening. No, it was Prince Heng. Qin Jinye was furious. He grabbed a feather duster and chased after them. Looks like you little rascals are asking for a beating. Extra chapter. His Majesty conferred upon me the title of Princess of Chang'an. On the day of the conferment, His Majesty personally placed the imperial edict into my hands. Tinghuan, I bestow upon you the title of princess not to elevate your status and ensure your smooth transition as the princess consort of Zhennan, but because of your father. Because the Li family has rendered great service to Daxing and shown kindness to the Qin family. Looking past His Majesty, I seemed to see my parents and many other family members. They smiled and waved at me, then vanished before my eyes. 5 years later, when the Li family restaurant opened a branch in Persia, I finally fulfilled the bold ambition I'd drunkenly vowed to achieve that year. The Emperor, Imperial Uncle, have Auntie cook us a meal, we're truly craving it. Qin Jinye heaved a long sigh. Forget about cooking, these days I can barely get a moment with my wife. Every evening she's either doing accounts or doing accounts. Changle, wah, I miss Auntie's spicy lamb hot pot so much. Sibao, the childhood nickname version. Me too, me too. The Emperor slammed the table. I don't care anymore. I'm issuing an edict right now to have Auntie make that spicy lamb hot pot for us. Qin Jinye said coldly. If you don't want that 100,000 taels of silver you asked my wife for 3 days ago, then by all means, summon her to make lamb hot pot. Your Majesty. I'm not really in the mood to eat. On a certain year, month, and day. Qin Jinye suddenly recalled an old incident from the past. By the way, back then I told you not to call me big brother, so why did you call me sister-in-law instead? My heart filled with guilt. If Qin Jinye ever found out that I once thought he was de Cai's secret lover, he'd probably want to kill me. Sorry, Qin Jinye. People tend to be rude when they're unreasonable. I slammed the table. Why were you eyeing that new maid last year? Was it because she's young and pretty? Do you think I'm old and faded now? Even as I twisted his ear, Qin Zhenye still looked utterly bewildered. Ah, my dear, I really didn't, indeed. Only those who falsely accuse you know just how wrongly accused you are. The end.